Hey there, the cucumbers and the peppers are starting to get pretty big. Got to set up the trellis system inside the tunnel. Everything's growing really well at the farm this year. I'm really happy with how things are filling in. I've been getting really good yields. Combination of the soil and the tunnels and all that stuff, and it's great. So if you're watching this at the time this is coming out, it's now late April and I'm in Raleigh, North Carolina, zone 7B. So if you're not at this stage yet, you will be shortly. I have some great looking beds here, and this section of the tunnel is strategically set up for these taller crops, and I'm going to get into that today and show you some of the ways that I'm going to be setting those up. So we got two beds on the side here with peppers and beets interplanted, and then this bed here is cucumbers and lettuce, and this bed of carrots here is looking awesome. Carrots starting to size up, so really cool. I'm really excited about getting some good carrots out of the ground this year. So we were talking about trellising because you know, that's one of the things that get a lot of questions about, and I've made a great video about trellising before. You guys have probably seen it. I'll leave a link down below. But a lot of those strategies were for crops out in the field and not in the tunnel, and now I have a tunnel to work with, which is really helpful. So this section, as I said, was pretty well planned out. So the side beds have the Italian sweet peppers, and I'm just going to be using U-posts and T-posts to support those with a floor to weave. And the reason I put them on the outside beds is because, you know, with the tunnel going like this, they're not, there's not as much height on the outside bed, so that's why I put the peppers there. Now this bed of cucumbers, as you guys know, grow really tall like indeterminate tomatoes, so that's why I have this in the middle bed here. And this bed of carrots, when it's done, will get pulled out, and then I have another succession of cucumbers going in here. So the middle two will be cucumbers, and the outer two I could use for, if I wasn't using peppers, I could do like, you know, determinate tomatoes or something like that with the floor to weave. So that's what I'm gonna do there. So this one here, what we're gonna do is, instead of setting up the system with the T-posts and the PVC and all that, I'm gonna use a structure that I already have in the tunnel. So I'm just gonna be putting pipes down the middle. So let me show you some of the hardware that I'm gonna be using for that. Because I'm gonna be using the structure of the caterpillar tunnel to support the trellis system, the materials I need, very simple. We just got a bunch of tubing here, and this is 3/4 inch EMT electrical conduit, and they're 10 feet long. So I have 10 pieces here, so 5 for each of those cucumber beds. And this is actually recycled material. This is the tubing or the pipe that went along the side walls on my original caterpillar tunnel, if you guys remember that. And this is what allowed it to have the roll-up sides. I'm taking that tunnel down soon, and so I'm going to try to recycle as many of the materials as possible out of there and use it for other things. So that's what these pipes are. They're a little beat up, but it should be fine to hold up the trellis system. And then just to attach them together, I'm going to be using these, you know, electrical couplings, and then just zip tie them up onto the hoops in the tunnel. Now this is 3/4. You could probably definitely get away with 1/2 inch, because I used 1/2 inch for the other system, which was set up with T-posts every 10 feet apart, and these will be supported every 5 feet or so because of the hoops in the tunnel. So gonna get these installed and start working on getting the cucumbers strung up. Got the pipe all installed up top here, and I have to say it's pretty precarious by yourself trying to balance it. And I know I just said that the supports are every 5 feet apart, and I totally forgot that they're every 10 feet apart. The horizontal supports are every other hoop, so totally forgot about that until I got in here. But either way, I think 3/4 inch, it feels good. And I'd say if you're gonna do this, having another set of hands would be really helpful. This is the Gothic Pro tunnel from Farmer's Friend. This video is not sponsored by Farmer's Friend, but there's a link down below if you want to check out this tunnel. I have a lot of content about this tunnel and building it and all that kind of stuff too. So these horizontal supports make it super easy to just tie those 3/4 inch EMT tubing onto it and create that trellis system. So that's all in now, and I'm starting to work on the actual trellising part for the cucumbers. So let me show you that. Now let's talk about the actual trellising part of this. And just a big disclaimer here, there are so many ways to do this. This is just how I do it, and I want to show you guys, and use this way, use a different way, whatever makes sense for you guys. This has worked really well for me. I've used this here and also at Raleigh City Farm, and I seem to stick with the system. I do really like it. And I did detail this in that other trellis video if you guys do want to check it out. So here's how it works. This is for cucumbers and indeterminate tomatoes. I would do it the same way. I use a 2-foot piece of bamboo. You can get bamboo in a lot of places, and when I bought this, I found it at Home Depot actually in 6-foot pieces, so I just cut them down to 2-foot pieces. Maybe you can find a cheaper source. You could probably use pretty much anything, but the bamboo is held up really well. This is now the 4th season with them, and yeah, I think they're fine. So I just shove the bamboo in the ground and then tie a piece of tomato twine here. And if you tie a knot right below that little node on the bamboo there, it'll hold it from going up. And then I just go up to the top and tie it on that pipe. And there's, as I said, there's lots of different ways to get the trellising done. A lot of people use clips, and I've used them as well. We used them at Raleigh City Farm last year, and they were cool. I just don't have any, and I just like to keep things really simple. It also helps when we're breaking down, not have to pull the clips out. But yeah, so I just wrap the plant around as it starts to grow, and these are a little bit short right now, but they'll start growing, and just train it. So when you're coming in here to come and prune the cucumbers or the tomatoes, you just come in here and prune off all the suckers and make sure you're twisting it up the twine. You should be good to go. This is just regular tomato twine. I'll leave a link down below for the stuff I bought, nothing special about it. And that's basically it. That's how I do this kind of trellising. It's super simple, and as I said, I bought these many years ago and they're still holding up fine. The only thing that's really a waste is the twine, but it comes out pretty easily when you're pulling out the plants. And just make sure you don't put it in your compost bin. And again, there are other options for twine. There's some more biodegradable stuff and all that, but for me, like the simplicity of this, and it's cheap, and it gets the job done. So that's what I've been going with. So I got to go through now and put the rest of these guys out. These cucumbers are spaced 1 foot apart. Got all the cucumbers set up, and they're not quite big enough to start wrapping them around the strings, but I kind of got them introduced to the stake at least, and within the next few days, I feel like they're going to be going up the string, and I feel like as soon as they have something to climb up, they just shoot up. Cucumbers grow so quickly. Also got this bed done for the peppers, so let me show you some of the stuff up close. Got the cucumbers all done. It's looking absolutely fantastic. The cucumbers aren't really tall enough to get them to wrap around the strings yet, but they're kind of leaned against the bamboo post and maybe a little bit on the string, and I feel like as soon as they feel that string, they just shoot up. Cucumbers grow so fast, as you guys probably know. So this is all set up. Now over here with the peppers, I put in these U-posts. These are probably, I think they're like 4-foot U-posts. I put them in every 4 plants, and I would have used the longer T-posts, but the problem is when you stand them up, it hits the top of the tunnel and you can't pound them in. So again, I'd like a little bit taller of a post, but this is kind of what worked and kind of what I had, so I'm just going with it. If you need more strength, you can always add more posts later. Some people do T-posts, and then every other one they'll use like a wooden stake because they're a little bit cheaper. Kind of whatever you have. Just there's no like set rules with this stuff. It's just whatever works. Generally, the Florida weave, you take the twine and you go between each plant, around each plant, and then you come back the other way, going the other way around the plant. And this one, I kind of did something similar. I just went around each pole, and I slalomed each pole, and then back the other direction. And, you know, these are in a tunnel, so they don't get nearly as much stress from the wind. And I did it this way last year at Raleigh City Farm, and it worked out pretty well, so I'm just going to do the same thing here. And in case you guys are curious about the plants I'm growing here, these cucumbers, this is the variety called Katrina, and these are the Italian sweet peppers. I did a video on these. I'll leave a link down below for that. These are Jolene's Red and Gatherer's Gold, and they all come from today's show sponsor, which is Osborne Quality Seeds. I've been talking about them a lot on this channel, but I absolutely love their seeds and I love their company, and they're very supportive of the channel. And if you're looking for some great seeds, these came from Osborne, and I've gotten a lot of other great stuff from them this year and in years past, and a lot of stuff they have in the ground right now. I really recommend you go check them out. They have quality seeds, and they also really have a customer service that helps you get the seeds that you need to be successful in your growing conditions, and I really recommend you checking them out. Links down below, and I want to thank them for sponsoring this channel. Trellising crops in the tunnel is awesome. One of the main reasons is we have structure we can work with that holds up our trellis system. But keep in mind when you are trellising in a tunnel that you do a lot of planning. You want the crops in the right beds. So for me, and in this market garden style, I can put any crop anywhere. But when you're doing trellising crops, you really have to think ahead, because the taller areas for the middle 2 beds, you want to make sure you save for things like cucumbers and indeterminate tomatoes. The outer beds where the tunnel comes up and don't have as much height, we're going to put in peppers or eggplants or determinate tomatoes and things like that. Another thing you could do with this kind of stuff is interplanting, and I talked about that briefly earlier. So, you know, while these crops are getting big and they're not fully shading out the beds, you can get another crop below. So this, I have another half bed's worth of lettuce in this bed with the cucumbers, and then I have beets with the peppers, and there's lots of great examples of interplanting out there. I also did a great video about interplanting, so I'll leave that down below. Another question you guys might want to know about is with the irrigation in here. And, you know, I have drip and overhead, and I have it set up on separate zones, but also the front and back of the tunnel is set up on different zones. So I will do a separate video all about that, and I'll show you all the details. I just finished installing it. But basically in this half where I have the trellising crops, I have the overhead turned off, and I'm just using the drip. One of the main advantages of growing these kinds of crops in a tunnel is that we keep the weather or the rain off of the leaves. And when you keep the moisture down off of the leaves, you really reduce the chance of disease and stuff like that. So they get watered at the roots and they're really happy that way. And that's just another great thing that you can have going on inside of a tunnel with these trellising crops. Really excited about this setup. I'm hoping for some big yields, and I'll keep you guys posted. And thanks again for Osborne for sponsoring this video. Links down below. And thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this, and if you haven't subscribed already, we greatly appreciate it. We'll see you in the next one.